The story of Andrea Yates is one of the darkest and most painful chapters in American criminal chronicles. A devastating case study of how untreated or misunderstood mental illness can erode not just a mind, but an entire family. On June 20th, 2001, the world watched, shocked, as a mother methodically drowned her 5 children, one by one, in the bathtub of her home in Houston, Texas. Andrea P. Kennedy, born in 1964, was a common, dedicated young woman. She graduated from nursing school and for years practiced the profession diligently, demonstrating compassion and competence. In 1993, she married Rusty Yates. The couple shared a very strong religious faith, their conservative convictions, and a common dream to build a large family full of children. Following religious precepts of fertility and family completeness, they saw themselves as pillars of a religious community, and numerous offspring were an integral part of their vision for life and purpose. Their first child, Noah, was born in 1994, bringing great joy. However, this initial joy was followed by a relentless cycle of pregnancies and breastfeeding that would take an extremely high toll on Andrea's mental health. She was pregnant or breastfed continuously for almost 7 years. In rapid succession, John was born in 1995, Paul in 1997, Luke in 1999, and finally, Mary, the only daughter, born in 2000, with 5 small children, very close in age, requiring full-time attention, dedication, and exhausting the energy of a mother who was already starting to show signs of fragility. It was after the birth of her 4th child, Luke, in 1999, that the first severe signs of an impending collapse manifested. Andrea began to struggle with a depression that quickly escalated into postpartum psychosis. This problem, much more serious than the baby blues, involves hallucinations, delusions, and a profound disconnection from reality. She attempted suicide twice, once with an overdose of pills, and another time by pointing a knife at her own throat, a silent cry for help. She was admitted to psychiatric hospitals on several occasions. There, she was diagnosed with severe postpartum depression with psychotic features and received powerful medications, such as antidepressants and antipsychotics. Doctors were explicit in their warnings to her husband, Rusty, about the seriousness of Andrea's condition. The warnings were clear: Andrea should never be left alone with the children, and future pregnancies were strongly discouraged due to the imminent risk of new and more severe psychotic crises. Despite the medical warnings, and driven by their religious beliefs and the continuous desire to have more children, the couple conceived Mary, the 5th child. The already numerous family lived in a cramped trailer for a while, which exacerbated stress and lack of personal space, before moving to a larger house in Houston. Andrea's mental health was a constant seesaw. With medication, there were periods of improvement, but with each interruption in treatment, or each new stress like moving house, the relapses were brutal and more frequent. Andrea was visibly overwhelmed, exhausted, and mentally consumed by increasingly intense delusions. She saw herself as demon-possessed, an incurable sinner, and believed her children were being corrupted by Satan, condemned to a terrible fate in hell if she did not act to save them. Before we continue, how about liking, subscribing, and sharing the channel with others who enjoy this type of content? This helps us grow and reach more people. The morning of June 20th, 2001, began like many others for the Yates family in their Houston home. Rusty, her husband, was getting ready for work. Although Andrea had shown recent signs of worsening mental state, with her psychiatrist recommending that she'd not be left alone with the children, Rusty decided to leave. As usual, he expected his mother to arrive an hour later to help with the children, creating a critical time window. This window, about 45 minutes to an hour, would be the stage for one of the most unspeakable tragedies. As soon as Rusty left the house, Andrea Yates did the worst, and with a terrifying calm, devoid of any apparent emotion, she began her methodical plan, driven by religious delusions that she was performing an act of redemption. First, she took Paul, 3, and Luke, 2, to the bathroom. One by one, she drowned them in the bathtub, their small bodies struggling in vain against their own mother's strength. Then she did the same with John, 5, and baby Mary, just 6 months old. After drowning the 4 youngest children, She carried them to the master bedroom and carefully laid them on the couple's bed, covering them with a sheet, a macabre image of peace. The last child was Noah, 7. He was the oldest, the most aware, and his perception of the unfolding horror would be the last thing he would see. Upon entering the bathroom, Noah saw the body of his youngest sister, Mary, floating lifelessly in the bathtub. Terror must have filled his small eyes. He tried to run, tried to escape that horrifying scene, perhaps screaming, seeking a way out, but Andrea, in her state of psychosis, caught him. She dragged him back to the bathroom and drowned him too. After completing the act, Andrea carried Noah's body and placed him in the arms of his already lifeless siblings on the bed, completing her distorted mission. Silence then took over the house, a heavy silence of death and despair. Next, Andrea Yates performed 2 acts that would reveal her disturbing distortion of reality and her belief that everything was right in her sick mind. She called 911, the emergency number, and, with a strangely calm and emotionless voice, reported what she had done. Soon after, she called her husband, Rusty, repeating the chilling words that would forever echo in his mind. It's time. When the police arrived, they found Andrea Yates, soaked but serene, sitting on the sofa. She led them to the bedroom, where the 5 bodies of her children lay, arranged side by side on the bed, covered. The scene was unimaginable for even the most experienced police officers. Andrea showed no visible remorse at the time. Her mind, imprisoned by psychosis, believed she had fulfilled a divine mission to save her children's souls from hell. The news of the Yates children's murder shocked not only Houston but the entire world. The case quickly became one of the most publicized in American criminal history, raising deep and disturbing questions about mental illness, responsibility, faith, morality, and the very nature of justice. In the first trial, in 2002, the prosecution argued that Andrea Yates, despite her mental illness, knew that what she was doing was wrong. They tried to dismantle the insanity defense, claiming that Andrea possessed the cognitive ability to differentiate right from wrong, even if her motives were distorted. The prosecution's goal was the death penalty, arguing that her actions were deliberate and heinous. The world followed the intense and often agonizing debates about Andrea's disturbed mind. The defense, on the other hand, presented overwhelming evidence of her severe postpartum psychosis. Witnesses, including renowned psychiatrists, detailed her complex delusions, her visual and auditory hallucinations, and her unwavering belief that she was saving her children from a fate worse than death, eternal damnation. For her, drowning them was not murder but an act of salvation, a way to send them to heaven before Satan corrupted them with sin. She also expressed the distorted belief that by committing such a heinous act, she herself would be executed, thereby freeing herself from the evil she believed possessed her. Despite the medical complexity and emotional testimonies, the jury, in 2002, found her guilty of capital murder. Andrea Yates was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole only after 40 years. This decision reflected the difficulty of a lay jury in understanding the extent of psychosis and the legal difficulty in applying the insanity defense, which requires proof that the defendant could not discern the nature or quality of their acts, or did not know that what they were doing was wrong at the time of the crime. Many argued that the jury was influenced by the shocking nature of the crimes and the difficulty of dissociating the gravity of the act from the defendant's mental condition. Andrea Yates's story did not end with that conviction. In 2005, the sentence was overturned by an appeals court, a development that surprised many. The reason? A prosecution psychiatrist, Dr. Park Dietz, had falsely testified that Andrea Yates had watched an episode of the TV series Law & Order that showed a woman using the insanity defense after drowning her children, and that this information could have influenced her actions. However, that episode, as it was proven, never existed. The court determined that the false testimony, even if inadvertent, could have unduly influenced the jury, denying Andrea a fair trial. Thus, in 2006, Andrea Yates underwent a second trial. This time, the defense was even more assertive and effective in presenting the depth of her mental illness and her total disconnection from reality at the time of the crimes. The jury, with a new understanding of the case's complexity and without the misleading previous testimony, found her not guilty by reason of insanity. This verdict meant that Andrea would not be sent to prison, but rather to a state psychiatric institution, the Kerrville State Hospital, where she remains under intensive treatment. She continues to receive medication and therapy for her psychosis and depression. Annually, she has the opportunity to request a release hearing, but to this day, she consistently declines. Recognizing the need for her continuous treatment and the severity of her condition, demonstrating a degree of awareness she did not have at the time of the tragedy, the Andrea Yates case remains a watershed moment and a somber reminder in the discussion about maternal mental health and the criminal justice system. It forced a national and international debate on the urgent need to identify, diagnose, and treat postpartum psychosis and other maternal mental illnesses, and the importance of offering adequate support to mothers struggling with these debilitating conditions. The tragedy of Noah, John, Paul, Luke, and Mary is a wound that will never heal in the public consciousness, a constant echo of the vital importance of understanding and caring for the human mind with the seriousness and compassion it demands, so that such horrors never happen again. If you liked this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Your interaction is very important. See you in the next video.